Hi everybody, Shane R. Monroe here. I was asked to take another look at RetroDeck because it supposedly has improved since the last time I compared it to emulation. So we're going to start fresh and do just that. Take a look at RetroDeck in a brand new light. We're going to go through the installation. I'll tell you what I like and what I don't like. So this is installed from the Discovery Store. Takes about 1 minute and 30 seconds to install, of course, depending on your internet situation, and it launches just like any other flat pack. So here is our first run, and it's telling you please pay attention to all the messages, etc., and where would you like to install it to? Internal storage, SD card. I've got an SD card. That's where I'm going to install it to, so let's do that. All right, I do have a hard drive plugged in as well, so I'm going to pick my micro SD card here. Okay. And the next dialog will be a list of optional actions to take during the setup. Okay, that's fine. They say we can do these other ways too. So install the Steam input profiles, right? We want that. And you can install some firmware for these two Sony platforms. Now, what I'm shocked to see here is that there's no way to choose what emulators you want. So I thought that was kind of weird. But let's go ahead and do the initial process. I did not opt to get the firmwares for the Sony packages. It takes a long time to download those, and I didn't want to add to this video any further, but it does work. It's a nice step. It's not something that you need anything special to do. You can do it yourself. Let's see. Yes, I do want to add it to Steam, right? That's what we want. Now, what they're really adding to Steam is ESDE, which is perfect. That's what I want. I want ESDE added to Steam, but they're saying RetroDeck. You'll see in a minute what I mean. So we're going to exit Steam, like it says, close and reopen Steam to see the changes. Okay, so now it says the setup's complete. Now, we didn't get a lot of options here. So now put your ROMs in the ROM folder, put your BIOS in the BIOS folder. You can use the BIOS checker, blah, blah, blah. So let's go ahead and do that. This is going to take me bloody forever. On my external hard drive, I have an emulation folder. So I'm going to put the external drive in one side. I'm going to put my SD card in the other, and I'm going to go in and grab my BIOS and my ROMs, right? So you get them wherever you get them, right? I can't tell you where to get these things. And I'm going to copy them over to the RetroDeck folder. So copy to other view, and there we go. Now this is going to take bloody forever. In fact, 30 minutes and 35 seconds to move all of those files over, but that's okay. We trimmed it out for you. Now, the idea is once you do the move, everything should just work. So let's see how that works out for us. Now, I don't know what this means. All updates are complete, yes or no? Don't know. I don't understand this, and it keeps popping up. Eventually, I say never show again, but if you click no, it doesn't run. If you click yes, it does run. I think maybe they could improve that dialog box a little bit. Okay, so you should recognize this is ESDE with a RetroDeck theme. And you can see all my games did show up, right? The Atari 2600, 5200, ColecoVision, they're all here. But it's really designed to have media. There's no listings or anything. It's really hard to navigate the way that it is. Now, later on, we're going to change themes. But let's go through some of the options here. So you can rescan the ROM directory. This is all standard ESDE stuff. ESDE configurations has been increased. There's a lot more stuff in here than I remember seeing from a standalone version. So it looks like maybe there's some retrofitted stuff in here. But it's been a while since I've dug through the ESDE menus on their own. But there's a lot going on. So let's quit and go back to the configurator. That's where all the good stuff is supposed to happen. And configurator is here off of your start menu. It is not inside of Steam. Steam just lets you run that front end. All right, so let's see what we got here. Let's run through it. Settings lets you customize your RetroDeck. Open components, do some manual configuring. Reset components, good. Tools, yeah, BIOS and all sorts of other good stuff. We're going to definitely dig into a lot of this stuff. Steam synchronization, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's pretty good. It's pretty straightforward stuff here. So let's go into tools. BIOS checker. This shows you all the information about your BIOS files. Compressing games. Both excellent features. Install the retro layout, which we already did. This is where you can reinstall that firmware we were talking about. Change that update notification. I think that's what it is that keeps popping up that I don't understand what it is. M3U file validator, good stuff, good stuff. So let's run the BIOS checker. Now, the one that's in EmuDeck is basic, but it's very clear and easy to read. Let's see what we have here. Of course, BIOS files are required for some systems in order to operate. Now, look at this. This is an incredible amount of detail. All the different types of BIOS files needed for 3DO, for Atari 5200, for FB Neo, they're all here. And they tell you whether they're found or not, right? Do they match the hash that they should to be correct? And whether they're required or not. And of course, the path that they're expected to be found in, which most of the time is the root of the BIOS file folder. So yeah, this is, I mean, there's so much here, right? Maybe a little overwhelming for the new user. They just want to know if the PlayStation's going to work, right? Is PlayStation 2 going to work? Is the GameCube going to work? In a lot of cases, it says, oh, it's required, but you only need one of these. It's a little bit confusing. This could probably be streamlined a little bit. I mean, as an information guy, I love having all of this information, but it definitely could be a bit overwhelming for the new user that just says, hey, can I run the PS2 stuff or not? Right? And this sort of kind of answers that, but it kind of doesn't. But bravo for being this detailed. You don't get that kind of detailed orientation very often. So games compressor is a big deal. This will check to see if you have games that can be compressed into CHDs or zips or RVZs. We're not going to go into great detail on these, but it'll check these formats and it will compress the games for you. Now, not only will CHD compress a big fat bloated, say, PlayStation 1 game like Puzzle Fighter here, but it will also break down these bin queues and merge them into the single file CHD format versus having track 1, track 2, track 3, blah, blah, blah. So it's good. It's good. And sometimes it can actually make games that don't work right. Don't ask me why that is, but it is. You don't get any sort of indication as to how far along you are. I find this is a negative. On EmuDeck, you get a pop-open window. It's a little bit garbly looking, but at least you can tell what's going on. All right, so that's good. I got one compressed. That's awesome. I'm glad that they have that tool available here. Okay, so customization. So these are things like adding borders or hacking in widescreen support. Do you want to quit the emulator, right? Do you want to enable quick resume? I do not like quick resume, so I can disable that. It's enabled by default. I like borders. I want borders on my games that are 4:3 orientation. So I will definitely want to make sure that I have borders, and you can hit enable all. That's great. What a neat feature. I don't have to check them all. That's awesome. And it'll save your presets. Rewind, right? I don't want rewind turned on because it breaks some games. So I'm going to make sure that it's off, and it already is by default. Swapping A/B buttons. Retro achievements is here. And if you don't know what retro achievements are, you should learn because retro achievements kick major butt. So it's great that it's here and you can log in. Just double checking that quick resume. Okay. Well, nice. Okay. So there's good stuff in here. Same sort of stuff we see in other packages. Open components. So this is where I'm thinking, hey, I can start taking emulators away, right? I can say, maybe I don't want this. Maybe I don't want that. But all you can do is launch them. And you can launch them from here, and then you can do stuff to them, right? So if I launch MAME, I could go in and reconfigure MAME inside the interface. Can't take away MAME. I have to have all of these emulators installed, whether I want them or not. At least that's, if somebody leave me a comment down below if I'm missing something. But there's no way to actually remove emulators that you don't want other than maybe going and deleting them out of a folder somewhere, but there's nothing in the UI to do it. Now, this is a Steam tool that allows you to sync up your favorites and create an automatic Steam entry. So if you're used to Steam ROM Manager, you can still run it from here, I believe, by going into that emulator menu and running it. But being able to just tag your favorites and then having just that subset installed to Steam, that's a great feature, actually. Because if you've ever worked with Steam ROM Manager Raw, you actually want to like take your own life at the end of that. So we're going to go in here and look for RetroDeck, right? And we're going to favorite some items, and we're going to try to inject them into Steam and see how good that works. Here's that message again. What does that mean? Never show me again. All right, so now we're getting back into ESDE. And let's go find a game and make it a favorite so we can try to inject it. We're going to check out Berserk, but it won't run, and there's no error messages. I know pretty much why it didn't run, but it probably should have said something. So I'm going to change it to an alternative emulator. I like Final Burn Neo. Why? Because I can use retro achievements. So I'm going to go in and actually change my default across the board arcade emulator to be, that's right, Final Burn Neo. Most of my games are set up for Final Burn Neo. So this is a good thing to have. So let's try to launch it again. Okay, well, this at least gives me the Final Burn Neo error that basically says this ROM set doesn't work with this version. That's what I would expect to see. I don't know why I didn't see anything when I tried to run it from MAME, because MAME will usually tell you, you know, this isn't compatible, whatever. I'm not sure why that got eaten. But let's try Black Tiger. I love Black Tiger. Great arcade game. Okay, this one works. Great. So let's escape out of here, right? We know that it works. Let's escape out and add it to our favorites so that we can then try the configurator's injection into Steam. We're going to scrape it first, though, because just for fun, right? Now, you can do scraping across all platforms, but it's long and tedious. And honestly, if you're not paying the scraper.fr website a couple bucks a month, it can take you literally days or weeks to scrape all your stuff because you're limited to a daily hit count. So, yeah, it looks a lot better once you have something scraped, right? Otherwise, it looks like a complete mess. Not all ESD themes look like a complete mess if you don't have items scraped. This looks great. So now it's in our favorites. I should now be able to go into the configurator and run that favorites injection and see how it looks in Steam. I don't like my games being in Steam. I like them being in ESDE. Tons of different reasons why. I like my emulation completely segregated from my Steam library. Plus, if you get too many of these entries in here into Steam, it starts slowing it down. I just don't like it. All right, so now it's going to look for any ESDE favorites and then try to sync them. All right, so I had one item. Now, I don't know exactly what it's doing in the background here. It seems to take a little bit long for one item. I'm worried that it would take like a really long time if I had like 50. All right, so it should be in here now, right? I just added it to Steam. It should be in Steam now. I didn't see anything about restarting Steam. Or maybe I missed it. Let's look for Black Tiger. And no. How about Black Tiger, all one word? Black Tiger. Got to be able to type. No. Now, I know that if you inject something into Steam, you got to close Steam and then come back in. That's something I didn't see mentioned. Maybe it wasn't. I missed it in a pop-up. But if you happen to have that happen, you do have to exit Steam first and go back in. So let's jump back in. Now Black Tiger should show up. By the way, this is not unique to RetroDeck. EmuDeck does the same thing. All right, so Black Tiger. Oh, there it is. I see it. Nice. Okay, well, we get some artwork. There's no icon, but it's better than being blank. Let's see if it works. It does work. I actually like this. I actually like this a lot. If you have one or two items you just want to sneak into Steam because you play them all the time, this makes sense. I would highly recommend you do not do this if you're injecting more than 5, 6, 7, 8 games, right? Keep it under 10 and you're going to be fine. Yeah, and you can always just remove them. Just remove the non-Steam game and it goes away. You don't have to run anything special. Just go and delete it like that. So that's cool. I mean, I think that's a great feature. EmuDeck should steal it if they're not working on it already. So let's go back into the configurator again. Sounds like something from Wonka's factory. Let's go into our tools. All right. And I was thinking about installing the PS3 firmware, but It really is a file you go download from their website and just install it yourself. I mean, it's great that there's an option to download it for you, but I was going to show that and I decided against it. Now let's go into settings here. I don't think there's anything else we really need to see. Most of this stuff is fairly self-explanatory and you either want it or you don't. All right, so let's go take a look here now at what this looks like installed, right? EmuDeck is a little bit scattered. RetroDeck does keep everything nice and tidy in a single folder, which is where you specified when you originally installed it. ROMs, saves, borders, everything is very well organized. A lot of people love this. Me, I think it's great to have it. The saves are all in one place. They're not scattered all over the place. To me, this is the big feature right there. The saves are not scattered between internal and external storage. That's a huge plus. And yeah, I do like the way that it's laid out. I was kind of looking for the media downloads. I didn't see an immediate place. I think it's under tools, downloaded media on EmuDeck. Just having some trouble finding it here. Screenshots. It's got to be in here somewhere. Maybe it's inside of ESDE's folder. Where's that at? I think I just skipped it. Right in here. There we go. Downloaded media. See, this is a better place for it. I like the organization. See, there's your covers. I bet Black Tiger's in there, and it is. Black Tiger manual, the marquee, the mixed images, blah, blah, blah. Perfect. Yeah, see, I like this. This is great. It'll be a lot easier to just back up that RetroDeck folder to another drive and know that maybe you're not missing saves, you're not missing this, you're not missing that. Pretty cool. All right, let's go back in here one more time and see if there's anything I missed. Let's count these real quick. There's 17, including Portmaster and Steam ROM Manager, which I think is less than EmuDeck still. I think EmuDeck has 27 emulators. I think the part that bothers me the most is I can't put Eden in here. I can't put other emulators that shall not mention their names. It's kind of fixed. So one of the sort of nice things about EmuDeck is they're willing to let you bring your own emulator in some cases. And maybe you can do that here. It's just not evident, and I'm not skilled enough to know what I need to do. I do like the ability to move your folders around, re-symlink them, do your backups. Let's see what this looks like. I'm curious. So you can back up to a single zip. Okay, may take several minutes. In my case, it probably takes several hours. Let's see, we got core backups, custom backups, and complete backups. That's kind of cool. So you can do a complete backup and you're safe. You get everything. Custom backup, you get to choose. Okay, so if I do custom, I should see everything that gets caught by complete if I check them all. Nice. We got ROMs, saves, save states, shaders, BIOS, media, themes, logs. It's everything. That's really cool. I like the idea that I can just grab my ROMs and BIOS files, pack them up to another drive, and call it a day. You can also move these things or move all of RetroDeck, which of course EmuDeck does that too. But yeah, I like being able to bust those things out. You can't split them, which is what a lot of people want to do. They want to put some of their PS3 stuff internally, some of it externally. EmuDeck doesn't do that either. So not a big deal. Yeah, I was just kind of looking in here for some of the other Steam ROM Manager stuff. Seeing if I was missing anything, but I don't think so. So you can set it to automatically sync your favorites. So you add a couple favorites and then exit RetroDeck and it'll do it for you. I think I'd rather do that manually, but that's okay. It's nice that there's a feature for the new folk. And there's no Steam ROM Manager here, right? So you do have to go and launch it. I thought maybe it installed a link to it, but no, you have to go. If you, for some reason, want to engage in the sadomasochistic behavior that is using Steam ROM Manager, you can do it. You just have to run it through the configurator. All right. So, yeah, I mean, there are several ESDE overhauls in here. There's some extra stuff. By the way, if you run the configurator from here, it'll probably pop in behind the screen and you can't see it. Everything will look like it's locked up. You'll probably reboot and wonder why. So don't run configurator from here. And maybe it works on the handheld screen, but it definitely didn't seem to work for me externally. Yeah, and you can, of course, go in here and change your emulators to something else. Understand that just because you can change it to something else doesn't mean you're not responsible for installing the something else. So unless you know what you're doing, unless you know you're hopping around RetroArch cores, right, you probably want to just not monkey with that. But there's a lot of settings. I urge everybody to go in here and see what's available to you. A lot of things you might go, oh, hey, wow, I didn't even know it could do that, because you weren't looking. And I'm sure there's a couple of things in here that are worth looking at, maybe in a separate video. I'm going to show you how to change this theme, though. So built in is the modern theme, which I'm not a huge fan of, but it does include the Slate theme, which I am a fan of. And of course, you can use the theme downloader to download dozens of other ones. See, this is the modern look. There's way too much red for me. I don't know about you guys, but I don't like red. But you can see it's a little bit easier, right? To see what's going on. You got, whatever. Let me go to Slate. This is my favorite. I love Slate. I use this on emulation as well. Unfortunately, you can't jump to the bottom. If you keep seeing me scrolling, trying to get to the bottom, in desktop mode, you can't use the bumpers and the triggers to jump around. So, yeah, see, I like this. This is what I'm used to. This is what I like. And one of the reasons I like this is because even if you don't have that beautiful scraping, you still get a clean list. You don't have to like scroll a lot. You don't see a lot of insert graphics here. I just don't like that theme. But fortunately, I don't have to, right? Because I can run whatever theme I want, and so can you. But maybe in the future, RetroDeck could offer a theme selector. That's something that emulation does that I think would be really useful. Offer modern, RetroDeck, and Slate. All right, well, I think it's time to talk about what I loved and what I didn't love. Let's start with the AutoMagic Steam favorite injection system. I don't love putting things in Steam, but I might do it more frequently for one-offs if I were using this package, because it's just that simple and easy. It's a clean install. It's easy to get it to the Discover store. It keeps everything neatly organized. I could definitely see some more anal retentive people who really, really enjoy that facet of things. The Extreme BIOS Checker, of course, I mentioned this in my last video, is epic. Maybe a little too epic. We'll talk about that in a minute, but wow, what a feed of data. ESDE is the default, and I love that. I think that ESDE is the creme de la creme of front ends, so I love that. And the quality of life items, such as the borders and all of the rewind features and auto resume and all that sort of thing, are all there on display. So that's available. But that being said, let's talk about what I didn't like. There's no installation wizard. So all of those cool features that it has, you don't know about it unless you go looking for it. Whereas if it were part of an install wizard, people could elect to take it or not take it, or at least make a choice later on. So an install wizard, I think, would really help them out. There's a lot of questionable UI choices. That was my biggest problem with RetroDeck the last time I looked at it. It doesn't work as well for me. I know a lot of people don't care. But especially things like that pop-up that doesn't really ask you any questions, but it still says yes or no. I mean, that's just an example, right? I think it could be tightened up a little bit. The default theme probably looks fan-frickin-tastic if you're totally scraped of media. But unfortunately, most people are not. They're not going to spend the time to do it. And so what do you end up with? A rather blug-looking front end. So the default theme, maybe have a theme picker at the beginning instead as part of that install. That might be useful. Or default to something that doesn't require tons of scraping in order to get it to look or maybe one of the themes that doesn't require a ton of scraping to actually be kind of useful, right? Not as so much dead, wasted space on the screen. The side loading support is going to uptight a lot of people, right? They want to be able to take one of those, how should we say it, big N emulators and stick it in there, and it doesn't look like that's possible. If it is possible, it's sort of an undocumented back-end thing, and that's, you know, kind of a killjoy for some folks. And as I mentioned before, that Extreme BIOS Checker is great, but unless you're really into that level of data, you just want to know if PlayStation's going to work or not, right? You don't need a full-blown explanation. So maybe a basic and advanced view on that would basically crush it, because then you'd have the best of both worlds. Well, listen, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, like, subscribe, hit the bell. You guys know what to do. I'm Shane R. Monroe. Thanks so much for watching. Take care, and we'll see you next time.